Let's review what you're going to learn about in this module. Coaching skills and tactics, when to coach and how to properly prepare for a coaching meeting, how to effectively coach and be coached, and systems to ingrain coaching in the entire organization. So looking back again, I was a great motivator. Someone would approach me, or I would see an issue or challenge, and I would talk to them about it and try to motivate them through my own experience. And this is where I made a critical mistake, is I made it about me and not about them. Coaching is very different than trying to motivate. It's guiding someone, asking very strong questions, allowing them to get to their own aha moment, and having them commit to their own path forward. If I had have known what I know today, the things I'm going to share with you, I'm sure I would have had a much bigger impact on those around me through proper coaching. Let's get into it. Here's Greg Thompson's definition of a coach. A coach is a catalyst to sustain personal change in individuals that in turn will tangibly impact the organization in which they work and the communities in which they live. That's directly from the book. I love how Greg Thompson frames coaching. He really calls it co-learning. Someone's learning about themselves and their own behaviors, and you're really learning along with them in that process from a standpoint of curiosity and compassion. The research on coaching is crystal clear. Coaching improves performance. To build a high-performing culture, people need to grow. And as we all know, growth can be uncomfortable. When we get out of our comfort zone, that's when we really have breakthrough moments, but that can be incredibly uncomfortable. And coaching isn't always about learning. In some cases, it's about unlearning behaviors that hold us back. And our job as leaders is to point out, in some cases, those behaviors that are holding others back. So I want to cover off a few different reasons of why coaching is important and why we should all coach. Coaching allows you to become a better leader. It'll help employees and stakeholders reach their full potential. It'll foster a culture that supports professional growth and continuous improvement. It'll allow you to facilitate life-enhancing change in those around you. It'll help your team members feel happier and express higher aspirations. It'll allow you to unleash fresh energy, innovation, and commitment. It'll spark insights in other people, and it'll also unlock people's potential to maximize their own performance. When I sold my first business in 2016, only then in 2017 did I get a coach. And I actually, looking back, think that was a big mistake. As I grow as a leader, I'm discovering that coaching is an important factor to my own growth and that leadership is a never-ending journey. So in 2017, I hired a coach, and I wanted to get into what I would call deep coaching. And that started with a conversation with my coach about my leadership style, what the impacts to those around me were, not just in my company, but maybe in the community. And me starting with the goal, what type of leader did I want to be? And some self-reflection. Where did I think I was off based on that goal? And where did I need improvement? Where was I doing well? And then we wanted to get the facts. We went out to those around me and asked them the questions. And it wasn't just employees, my direct reports. It was folks that knew me from the business community and people from friends that knew me as an individual. And from there, we knew where to focus. The exercise was kind of like a start, stop, continue exercise where we would ask questions to individuals. What should Ron start doing? What should he stop doing? And what should he continue to do? Those are great questions. The key thing was looking for consistency in the things that I should start doing, should stop doing, and consistency in the things I should continue to do as a leader. From there, we pared things down and said, what will have the biggest impact? And we started to work in those areas. One of the key things about this process is my coach would ask me very tough questions that would force me to reflect. We'd get to a place where I felt really good about the path forward, and I would make my own commitments. Of course, when you hear the word coach, I think most of us go to sports. And in some cases, as leaders and individuals, We need different coaches to solve different problems at different points of our life. And I think that's important, is to really think of where you want to make a change and who is the best person in some cases to allow you to do that. There's a difference between surface level and deep coaching. What I went through with my coach was deep coaching. Surface level coaching could almost be seen as providing guidance for someone to make a quick correction, maybe to make a small adjustment in what they're doing and have them make a new commitment to move forward. One of the most important things to coaching is trust. We talked about that in the previous module. But earning the right to coach. And I want to be clear, if you don't have a relationship, if you haven't built trust, you haven't earned the right to coach. And so earning the right to coach is very important. Or forget coaching. You just won't have any impact because someone will not open up to you. One thing that's been incredibly helpful to me is when someone does approach me with a challenge, I'll typically try to figure out what the best path forward for them is. And so for instance, someone will come and say, hey, I've got this big challenge or issue with a coworker, whatever it is. Before we begin, I want to make sure I'm going to give you the support you're looking for. So, are you looking for me to just listen? Do you want me to share my experience about a similar challenge? Or do you want me to just give you my advice? Or would you like me to help you through this through coaching? From there, someone will tell you what path that they're comfortable with. And I'm also getting permission to either coach, give advice, whatever it is, but I've asked for permission up front. Here's more about what a great coach is. A great coach is someone who is most impactful in our lives, believes in us and sees possibilities we can't see and encourage us to go further than we can do alone. They challenge us to push through our own limitations. They are people who listen, who truly care about our success and invest in us the most rare commodities of time and attention. They remind us of what's important and encourage us to be the best version of ourselves. So let's talk about some of the key qualities of a great coach. First is generosity, giving your time and your attention to someone else. It's very important. Seeing the absolute best in others. If you don't, it's going to be very hard for you to bring out the best in them because you won't see it. Having the courage to even sit down and have a tough conversation. And compassion. It's very helpful to have a lens of compassion when dealing with someone. Curiosity. To be a lifelong learner. Get really curious. That will counterbalance any judgment that you may have during that conversation. Acceptance. Don't be judgmental. It's the natural thing to do, but as soon as you hear the judgment voice in your head, silence it. If you don't, you'll stop being curious. You'll stop asking questions. You'll simply judge someone, which is wrong. Let's also go through what a coach is not. A coach is not a friend, a therapist, a consultant. It's not a mentor, a teacher, or a trainer. All of those play a specific role, but that role is not to coach. When I look at my own entrepreneurial journey, I came from an organization where I was building a management team. The biggest impactful shift is when we made the shift to turn managers into coaches. Managers typically run around firefighting. Coaches see opportunities in individuals. They slow down. They're playing the long game. And so they see opportunities to have people change for themselves. They don't just fix people's problems. That has a much larger impact on an organization. A good coach will ask questions that tap into someone's emotion, and that will drive a behavioral change. Before we get into the coaching process, let's talk about narrative coaching, which is about coaching yourself before the conversation. We covered this conversation in one of our Scaling Culture podcasts with Justine Gellivan. I had never heard of narrative coaching, but I'd certainly fallen into this trap many times. Narrative coaching is the concept that when we have a challenge with an individual, so let's use an example where lately someone has been late for work multiple times. We as human beings will move to a judgment state. And so for instance, where someone's late, maybe I think to myself, wow, this person has no respect. They don't respect me as their leader. They don't respect the organization and those people around them. They don't take their work seriously. That is storytelling. And what I mean by that is I'm making up a story. This is not based on facts. I am making up a story in my head. So narrative coaching is about inward coaching before a conversation. where you ask yourself that question. Am I making up a story, or do I know facts about what's really happened? Because a lot of times our stories are so different from the actual facts. So in this case, where someone's been late for the past week, the facts may be that their mother is now with them and is terminally ill with cancer. And they've got 2 children at home, and it's now become very difficult to get their kids to school on time. So someone's now got to balance family life with work. That is very different from them not respecting work or their colleagues, etc. And so be very cautious before you start a coaching session that you haven't judged someone based on your own story. Let's get the facts. And typically with narrative coaching, there are 3 key things to think about. 1, what is the story I'm telling myself? 2, what judgments have I made about this story? And 3, do I know the key drivers? Do I know what's driving that person to behave in a certain way? If not, you are into storytelling mode. You've created a story, which is probably triggering emotion within yourself. So stop, think about that conversation, and go back to the drawing board, meet with the individual, and ask questions, which will get you the actual story. Click here to learn more about narrative coaching taken directly from our podcast.